my father-in-law lives just outside of Asheville, North Carolina, and he was badly damaged by Hurricane Helene. And he has refused all FEMA help because he's a hardcore Trumper. And he literally believes that if he accepts anything from FEMA, they're going to take his house. I don't understand how so many people are under the spell of this freaking con man. I don't understand it.
Well, it's absolutely heartbreaking about your father-in-law. I'm so sorry to hear it. I hope. Man, it's hard to even imagine it. I mean, he lost almost everything, and he's refusing all help from the federal government and complaining to us that he doesn't have food, that he doesn't have the stuff he needs, and yet he won't accept the help. What the hell are we supposed to do? We're not in a position to be able to fly across the country and help him. Yeah. There's people begging us to get him to accept help, and he won't do it. And I guarantee you, I'm not the only one. I guarantee you, I'm not the only one. I wish there was something I could say as to, I don't know. Does he have access to any electronics where you could send him some information debunking this, and that he might?
We've done all of that. We've done all of that. We've sent him all the FEMA bulletins. We've sent him all the stuff from the fact checkers. He doesn't believe it. He thinks he just believes Trump. Literally, Dan, it's a cult. He's a cult member. I'm sorry to say it. He's a cult member. And he's my father-in-law, and it sucks.
I've done quite a few videos on the hurricane, and in all of them, I have warned that while Trump tries to derive political benefit from casting Kamala Harris in a bad light and calling FEMA's response inadequate and saying that there's no money left, that the real losers in all of this are going to be his own fans who believe him and don't apply for aid. Here's a clip of a video I did in the immediate aftermath of Helene. So when Republicans claim that there's no money left because the migrants took it, that is an outright lie. In fact, it's especially dangerous because people might hear that there's no money and think that there's no reason to even apply for disaster relief. If you need it, apply for it. It is there. Do not listen to purveyors of disinformation, which is to say, we knew that this was going to happen. And lo and behold, here we are in the immediate aftermath of the hurricane, and we have proof now that a Trump supporter listened to Trump and right-wing media and believes one of the many lies that, for example, if he applies for FEMA relief, they're going to take his home away, and so even though he needs the assistance, he won't apply for it because he believes a guy who will lie to the ends of the earth if it means he can derive some marginal political benefit for himself. The losers in this scenario are not Kamala Harris or the Democrats. The losers are the people gullible enough to believe Donald Trump. They are the ones who get screwed over in the end. Here's my Inside the Right co-host Tim Miller, for example, who lives in New Orleans, a city intimately familiar with the need for federal relief in the aftermath of a hurricane, discussing this issue.
I think one thing that's especially pernicious is a lot of Republicans are saying there's no money left in the disaster relief fund because all of that money went to migrants. And so think about the amount of people out there who might need aid, who might need relief right now, who are just thinking to themselves, well, I heard from Elon Musk, I heard from any of these right-wing provocateurs on Twitter that there's no money left, so don't even bother applying for it, when, again, that's just completely false. But now people who need money, who need aid, aren't going to do it because a few of these Republicans who are just looking to help themselves or help Donald Trump politically have basically made these people believe that there's nothing left.
Yeah, and it goes all the way up to like sitting senators, like the Trump, as a presidential candidate. And you had to see the Biden administration and FEMA, and even some like local Republicans who live in these communities and are dealing with real life suffering have to put out statements. It's like, no, this is not true. There was you can get money. Please, go through the normal systems, to make sure that you can get the assistance that you need if you're suffering from this hurricane. And there was one example of a Republican state legislator in North Carolina that said that he was hearing from constituents that FEMA was like eminent domaining the property, and that it would be illegal for people to go into their, like, they couldn't even go back to their homes, or they might be arrested. And he has to put out these statements. It's like, no, like you can get your property. Like you can go get your $750. The $750 is not all you can get. That is just like the initial money that anybody can have access to, so to help people kind of bridge, over the next couple of weeks, so they can have money to go get groceries or whatever, or like a hotel room for, even that's only like 2 nights, but still, like that, they're being told all of these things that are false, and it is actually impacting people who are suffering, and the whole point of the government, like, even if you're a libertarian, like, the whole point of the government is to help in situations like this, right? Like, even if you're an anti-government, right, like, these are the times that this is the reason we have a government, and they're just totally undermining the efficacy, and they're doing so, like, for the most cynical possible reasons, to try to hurt Kamala Harris and the Biden administration.
And here's my Democracy Watch co-host Mark Elias discussing this phenomenon, not just in the context of hurricane relief, but also the ability to vote by mail, which is constantly undermined by Donald Trump, who only fearmongers about mail-in voting, even though doing so eliminates a crucial lifeline for those who can't show up to vote on Election Day.
Because Republicans want to frame this administration as being inept, and they're saying there's no more money left in the disaster relief fund for FEMA because they gave it all to the migrants, there are people out there who may hear those people say that and take them at their word and not even bother applying for disaster relief that they need because they think that all the money went to migrants. And like, that's the people who get screwed are the people who are gullible enough to believe these Republicans, who should be in positions of power, who are in positions where we should believe what they say, and yet they're just so focused on spreading and perpetuating misinformation because they think it's going to help them in the next election. But again, to my earlier point, the people who are getting screwed here are not those Republicans at the top. They are the people who believe them. They're going to be left, high and dry, not actually applying for disaster relief that they need because they were gullible enough to believe the politicians who are supposed to be telling the truth.
And that is the same thing we're seeing here with the straw box case in Pennsylvania. The losers in all of this are the voters who now won't trust using a ballot drop box, who won't trust vote by mail. I wrote about this for Democracy Docket a few weeks ago, about how the Republican Party is like Sisyphus trying to push a boulder up the hill only never roll back down. The professional Republicans are like, look, everyone, if you're a Republican voter, vote early, vote by mail, use drop boxes, do all of the above. And every time they are at the precipice of convincing people that, Donald Trump rolls the boulder down the hill over them again, because he continues to spread this misinformation, disinformation. So then, of course, you have people who pick up on it and they act on it, and who are the losers there? It's not ultimately the Republican elite. Donald Trump still votes by mail. Right. The people who are the losers in this are the voters who consume these lies.
So look, I don't know how many other ways I can say this. Donald Trump does not care about anyone other than himself. In fact, Trump is not only refusing to help in this instance, he is actively making things worse. And again, the people he's making things worse for are his own supporters. They are the losers in this, those gullible enough to believe him. And we've seen this play out before. We've watched for years as those who've hitched their wagons to Trump suffer for it. The DOJ has charged over 1,000 people who heeded Trump's calls to show up for the January 6th insurrection. He didn't show up, but he certainly was content to watch all of you throw away your freedom from the safety and comfort of the White House. How about all of those attorneys of his? Giuliani has been disbarred, Kenneth Chesebro has been indicted in Georgia and Wisconsin, James Trupis has been charged in Wisconsin, John Eastman was charged in Wisconsin as well, indicted in Georgia and facing disbarment, Christina Bobb was charged in Arizona, Jeffrey Clark was charged in Arizona, and a panel recommended his law license be revoked, Sidney Powell was charged in Georgia and faces disbarment, Michael Cohen went to prison. Here's Jenna Ellis literally crying in front of a judge when she was pleading guilty for being part of Trump's criminal scheme to overturn the election results in Georgia.
Very seriously, and I endeavor to be a person of sound moral and ethical character in all of my dealings. In the wake of the 2020 presidential election, I believed that challenging the results on behalf of President Trump should be pursued in a just and legal way.
Everything Trump touches dies. And the only thing more pathetic than all of these people thinking that somehow they were too special for it to happen to them is that there is always a new batch of supplicants and acolytes willing to take their place. Even as we have watched careers ruined, freedoms revoked, lives turned upside down for the people inside of Trump's orbit, still the parade of lemmings continues on because there are always more suckers who allow themselves to be used by Trump. So even if you don't want to take it from me, then take it from all of those people who have lost everything, dedicating their lives to a lifelong con man whose only actual skill is duping suckers into sacrificing everything for him. Donald Trump cares about no one other than Donald Trump himself. Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on the screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.